So, Babs, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Now, the shoe is on the other foot, so I'm interviewing you now for the podcast.
This is my first ever one.
It's the first time you've ever been interviewed?
First ever time I've been interviewed, done a podcast or anything.
And how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I've had a lot of people ask me to do podcasts and etc. But whenever I said I wanted to tell my story, I want to do it on my terms.
Yeah.
First. Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, here we are.
So, obviously I've known you for a long time, about 10 years. And like you've mentioned, you want to tell your story. So let's start from the beginning. Tell us about where were you born? What was your childhood like? What kind of kid was little Babs? What was he like?
Oh, I don't know if you want to hear that, but so I was born in West London. It's a small area, but it was right next to Wembley. Everyone knows Wembley, but I was born in Wembley, West London. Childhood was interesting. From a young age, we had quite a big family living in my grandma's house. So it was my grandma, my granddad, me, my brother, my mum, my dad, my dad's brother, his wife, and 2 kids. So there was 10 of us living in one house in West London. It was a 3-bed house. So it was fun because that family entity was there. That was really fun. As a kid myself, I would say I was really naughty.
Well, I mean, I can understand that, and I assumed as much that you were a naughty child. What type of naughty are we talking about? Were you the oldest, right?
No, I'm the youngest. I was just me and my brother. My brother's 2 years older.
So were you just bullying everyone else, or what were you doing?
I wouldn't say bullying. No, I wouldn't say bullying. Like, it's funny because when I moved house to this house, I saw my report card that you get from school, that end of year report. And one of the comments was like, Babs can really apply himself and do well if he just concentrated and didn't distract other people. So I was that kid who, I wasn't academically smart at all. I was terrible all the way up to the university, and even now I'm terrible at academics. But I would be the kid distracting people, having fun, and just having a good time. Even the teachers would have fun with the teachers.
And after school, you went to college?
After school, I went to I went to school in a place called Acton, if anyone knows it. And then they had a sixth form. It was a Church of England school. So in every year, there was only I think 20 non-Christian kids allowed in every year. My brother went there, so I went there. It was a Church of England school, place called Acton. So then that transcribed onto me going to sixth form. It wasn't college, it was what you call sixth form. So I went in sixth form there. So yeah.
And were you the only Sikh guy in the?
No, there was 2 other Sikhs in my in my year.
And how was that being part of a minority?
I suppose growing up in Wembley, we're not a minority, right?
Yeah.
There's Asians everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Although not as many Sikhs, a lot of Hindus and Gujaratis and stuff like that. Sikhs went more south side. But going to West London, which was predominantly white or black, we were definitely a minority. And then it was like a Church of England school. So every Wednesday, we had to do communion. And that was a must.
Oh, wow.
You didn't have to take the wine or the bread or anything like that because certain religions didn't allow it. But you'd have to go to communion and sit there because you were in a Church of England school. So it was definitely an eye-opener for me, because going into primary school, it was all Asian, and then going into secondary school was a mix of loads of different cultures.
And after college, what did you do?
After college, went on to university, Brunel. Went there for, I would say, 6 months. I did that, and then basically failed and dropped out of it. I actually didn't even get into university, so I had to do a foundation course.
Right.
So I didn't get into university, so I did a foundation course, and then I failed the foundation course.
And Why do you think you failed the foundation course? Was your heart not in it? You know, did you always know you do something else?
It was computer science was you had to do it. I went to university to do business as typical Asian, whatever, but the foundation course was computer science. And I'm useless when it comes to computers. Like, you tell me the printer's not working, I have no idea. I have a guy in my business who is just the tech guy.
Yeah.
Fixes my tech issues. Setting up a computer, I have no idea. Setting up an email address, I have no idea.
Okay, right.
I'm terrible. So I went to do a foundation course in something that.
And so when you didn't do the university degree, how were you worried about your career, or was there any concern there, or did you know that you had a different path? Like how did you feel back then? Because you'd been 18, I would have thought.
Yeah,
right?
I was 18 when I'm the youngest in my year because I was born on the 31st of August. So one day later, I would have been a year above everyone else.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's related to me not being the smartest because I'm a year behind everyone else.
Well,
but maybe
I'm the 18th of August,
yeah.
so I don't really think you could use that as
yeah. You're academically smart. So, like, my parents came from market stalls. They weren't educated. They weren't professionals. My mum came to this country when she was 19, and went straight into a market stall to help my dad. My dad came to this country when he was like 2 or 3 and went to school and educated here, but then did shops in terms of newsagents, market stores. So growing up, all I knew was I never saw professional people around me. It was like my uncles had car washes, market stores, and stuff like that. So when I thought about not going to university, my parents were like, "That's fine." They didn't push me to be, you have to go to university, you have to do a degree, you have to go get a job. They weren't like that at all. So when I basically failed Brunel, my first year of uni, my foundation course, I said to my parents, like, I don't know if I want to do uni. And they were like, that's fine. They were fully supportive on whatever I want to do. But during that period, I already started my business.
So what were you doing?
So obviously, where I came from, market stores and etc. So buying and selling was always in my blood. So I remember still every Sunday we used to go to like East London to the wholesalers, buy stock, and then Monday to Friday it was like sell them in the market. Every Saturday, from my far as I remember, was I was 9 years old, I would help mum and dad at the shop, and I would get pocket money and etc. And if I ever wanted to buy anything, I would have to work in the market stall to buy anything. So imagine you're 9-10 years old now. You're quite not that I was shy or anything like that, but you're very young, but you're learning how to interact with people, random people, in the sense that you're in a market, you're learning how to say, "Hi, can I help you with anything?" Or you'll be like, they'll say to you, "The price is £10. Can we get it for 8?" And then you're negotiating. So at a young age, you're seeing this. You're seeing negotiation. You're seeing selling. You're also seeing people stealing stuff from market stores. So I was exposed to quite a lot, quite young. Every Sunday, we'd go to the wholesalers, buy stock, and then on the weekday, sell it. So that was in my blood. So buying and selling was like in my blood. It was embedded into me. So when I started kind of my, business entrepreneurial journey, was essentially I was in college, sixth form. I was 17. I wanted a car. Loved cars. Always had cars displayed on my bedside, posters, etc. And I was like, my first thing when I was 17, I remember on my 17th birthday, I did my theory. I was like, you're so excited. Like, you can do your theory on your birthday.
Yeah.
I wanted a car, and not necessarily the parents couldn't afford a car, but it was just like, the first car that I bought was £1,500.
What car was it?
A VW Polo, a W-Reg VW Polo. I remember it was a 1.4 16 valve, and that was a big thing back there. It was like 8 valve or 16 valve. If you had the 16 valve, you'd be like, I'm the boss.
And did you crash that car? Did you
No,
damage that car?
no. I was good as gold.
Good driver?
I was good. I did have a knock, but nothing crazy.
And did you pass your driving test first time?
No, second.
Second time. Okay.
I hit a curb.
Pedestrian.
I just don't think the instructor liked me, to be fair. And then what happened was I did it in a place called Greenford. I failed.
Yeah.
And then my driving instructor said, go do it in Southall, because there's loads of all the instructors are Sikh and they'll sort you out. And then I passed.
And so I want to touch on the car history, but I think we'll do that a bit later on. So in terms of your business and what you were doing, so you were saying that you were already buying and selling once you left Brunel. Give us a little synopsis of what happened career-wise for you.
So when I was as I said, I wanted to buy my first car, so I started buying and selling stuff. So back then, this is 2007 I'm talking about, right? So the whole e-commerce boom was just happening. It hadn't happened yet, but it was starting to happen. And it was a different ball game back then. So I was like, I want to make extra money to buy a car, to kit up the car, sound system, alloy wheels, lowering and all that stuff. And I had to do it by myself. And it was just a bit like, to do that, I started buying stuff from Argos, car from warehouse, and selling it on Amazon and eBay. I don't know if you remember, but I think 15, 16, 17 years ago now, is when you used to buy a phone from car from warehouse, one of those cheap phones, 30, 40 pound phones, you had to buy a 10 pound or 20 pound top up with it.
Yeah.
So then what I used to do is sell the 10 or 20 pound top up to my friends, because they would need top up for their phone or whatever for the cost price, 20 pound. And then the phone I would sell on Amazon and eBay, say if it was 30 pound, I would sell it for like 50 pounds. Postage back then was like £3 or something, recorded delivery. And then I'd go to I'd buy the phone, sell it. Every time an order would come in, I'd go after sixth form, pick up the phone from car from warehouse, and then go ship it out. Then I started doing like Sennheiser headphones. I don't know if you remember them.
Yeah, I remember Sennheiser.
I started buying Sennheiser headphones from Argos and stuff like that, and then reselling on Amazon. And that made me good money. Like I'm talking like at 17 years old, I'm making like £400-500 a week. Now I'm talking 17 years ago was a lot of money, right? I remember I spent money on my car. Obviously you're young, you don't understand the value of money. So I spent money on my car. I redid the whole interior. I got it retrimmed.
Is this the Polo?
Polo, yeah. Imagine a £1,500 car. I think back then I spent like £2,000 retrimming it with new interior. It's mad, yeah. I look back and I was like, what the hell am I doing? But I loved it, and that was my thing. I was able to go on holidays with friends, like Tenerife and Malia and stuff like that. I was able to do that with the money.
And then after so you're buying and selling phones and headphones and stuff. Then how did it escalate? How did it develop from there?
So obviously like, I'm 17, 18 at the time, just going into university. Then I kind of took a step away from it. So it wasn't really a business, I would say. It was a side hustle, if you want to call it. It wasn't a business, it was a side hustle. But I kind of told my dad and everyone saw what I was doing. I was like, this is mad. But where we came from markets, we had wholesalers. So dad was like, go to the wholesaler. You can go get some stock and sell it online. Now back then it was like VHS tapes and mini DV tapes.
Yeah.
And mini disc and all that stuff. DV tapes. That stuff was like popping then.
Mini disc was good. I miss mini disc.
Yeah. And you had to like VHS tapes, all those tapes. So it started off as tapes and audio and stuff like that. Memory cards. I mean, like back then you didn't have gigs. You had like 126 meg and stuff like that. It was crazy. So I started buying that and then reselling it. They're all branded products. Started doing that. And then, then that was kind of in the background while I was at Brunel, my first year of university. And that was kind of left in the background. And then when I failed Brunel and I left Brunel, I went to China for the first time. And basically understood manufacturing.
So what made you go to China then?
So my dad at the time, he went and was like, we went together. It was more so like this side hustle could have potentially become quite big. And my dad had connections in China already from the markets. They used to import some stuff from China. So we went to China. I went to China, learned the whole import process, and then started bringing in products from China. But at the same time, I also went back to university then.
Did you?
Yeah.
What did you do?
So I went to a different university because Brunel were like, we accepted you on a foundation, you failed the foundation, we're not going to let you back in.
Yeah.
So then I moved to Hatfield, Hertfordshire University. Yeah. Where predominantly I also, if you actually look at it, it's a crazy world. I went there for university and then now I buy my cars from Lamborghini Hatfield.
Yeah.
So I went there for 3 years and I did business studies. At the same time, I was running the business and I didn't focus on uni at all. I was fully invested in my business.
And did you finish the degree at Hatfield?
I finished the degree. I thought I got a 2-2. I remember when I passed, I told my parents, I got a 2-2. They were like amazed because they were like, you've never been to university. You haven't done any work for it. Like, they were like really happy that I even passed.
Yeah.
And then I remember like I had not a little bit of money, but I mean, I went to Vegas with 2 of my school friends and we saved up £1,500 and we went to Vegas. And £1,500 in Vegas, it wasn't tables, it was like bars and stuff like that. It wasn't anything fancy. And then I came back. I was out in Vegas, and my brother opened the letter, and he was like, "Oh, just to let you know, you've got 2-1."
Oh wow!
And I was like, "Wow!"
It's amazing.
But looking back, the only reason why I think I got that was because my dissertation was to do with e-commerce, and at the time, I was in e-commerce making money, and my dissertation was about business and e-commerce because that was it booming it then. 2010, 11.
Yeah.
So I think that's the only reason why I passed it.
And then when did the real scale up happen? Like, when was the year where the numbers got big? When did that business scale up to where it is now?
So through the years, the business had ups, it had downs, and I was in another business. So over the years, I've made mistakes. And I've had businesses that have failed. But I would say the year the business really took off for me there was actually 2 years, 2018 and 2020.
Okay.
And that was after probably 10 years, 12 years in the game.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had to really work hard and be stable and be present and learn everything. And then after 10 years in the game, did things start taking off?
I always say to people, it's like, imagine you've got a lot of degrees. Imagine going to university for 10 years straight. You're going to be one of the most knowledgeable person in that field. And it just takes that 1 year to turn around. So imagine it's compounding, like you say, compounding interest, right? When you look at investments, it's compounding your knowledge and that 1 year can pay off.
And location-wise, so in the beginning, were you doing it from home? And then because now obviously you have a big warehouse, and so when did that scaling happen?
So it started from home, then like a small office, probably the size of this room, which is probably 10 by 10. From office went to another office, and like I say office, and then it went to like storage units. So like self-storage units, like access and yellow storage and stuff like that. And then it went to like warehouses and etc. And now we've got warehouses and 3PLs and etc.
And how many people work for you now?
Now, UK around 14 people. We're quite lean in terms of there's different sides of the businesses that I have, but 14 people.
And where is it going now? What's the next stage for you, business-wise? Because I know you did the course on Amazon buying and selling, which did very well. But I feel as if that was just more of a kind of stepping stone into something else, or are you going to go more into teaching or more buying and selling? What's the next stage for you?
In terms of like business and stuff, so I've got two main businesses. One's an import wholesale business that we import for loads of different people, retailers, online people, etc. That's like direct import. And then I've got the whole Amazon that we sell on Amazon and build brands and etc. I mean, where it's going for us is, I definitely think the market's a lot tougher from where we used to be. People's spending habits aren't there what we used to be. So I think for us, we're always adapting, which is great. But I think for us, it's like new platforms. So now you've got like TikTok, and stuff like that. So it's adapting and continuously building the brands. And then in terms of next stage for the business, it's like once you build the brands to a bigger level, now what I'm doing is like in February, I bought another brand. I bought out a company, an online e-commerce brand. And then I'll grow that with our knowledge, expertise, and money that we can put behind it. We will grow that brand to a multi-million-pound business.
So, do you think you would have ever done this well?
From where I came from as a kid, no. I thought that doing well is going to get a job. Because I saw my parents like hustle. Like I'm talking hustling. Like you're hustling for pounds in the markets. You're not big money. So I thought if I could go and get a £40,000 job, I'll be set for life. Because no one I knew around me had a professional job. None of my aunties, uncles, cousins, or anyone had a professional job. So for me, it was like if I could go get a job and earn £40,000 in life, I didn't think it was possible to even buy a house.
And so you've done so well from where you've started, right? I'm sure everybody wants to know, and these are all little sound bites that I think people love, and something that I would, you probably got some good advice for is, you have a lot of young guys, a lot of Sikh guys. There are so many people who message me and go, oh, you're friends with Babs. I want to get into the Amazon business. Will you mentor me? Will you do this? I just say Babs ain't got time to mentor. He's far too busy for that sort of stuff. But what advice would you have for these kids, I would call them, who see your journey and kind of want to emulate it? Do you think it's feasible now? Do you think the marketplace has changed? Do you think there was an element of right time, right place? Or what advice would you give them?
I wouldn't say right time, right place. I think things have changed in the market where it's like I see these young kids like making crazy amounts of money online, and they're probably more knowledgeable on me, like Shopify. When I was doing it, Shopify wasn't around. So I see that, and that still muffles me a little bit. So I think there definitely is a space, like, and it's always things adapting. Like now TikTok Shop has come, and there's people making massive money. Like a friend of mine does toilet roll on TikTok and does like £30 million on toilet roll on TikTok.
In the wrong business.
It's crazy. Like, and they've grown a successful business. I did a dinner for like a community thing that I did, and this guy came, and I was like, oh, what do you do? He was like, I do sweets. I was like, okay, cool. So I went to understand a bit more. I was like, where do you sell them? He was like, TikTok. And I was like, okay, cool. So what do you do? He's like, I've got this TikTok shop. I do TikTok lives and I sell sweets. And then he goes, I saw you, I followed you for years. And then that made me transition my TikTok business into Amazon. So now I sell sweets on Amazon. I was like, yeah, cool. How's it going? This guy had like 300,000 followers on TikTok selling sweets. And he's doing thousands and thousands of bottles of sweets, like hundreds and £100,000 in sales.
As a dentist, I really love that because it creates a lot of work for me later on. But
and it's just like, that is just like, for someone, he was super young, for someone to come and be creative like that. I think now, although it might be harder to get into the game, you just got to be more creative in what you do.
And you mentioned about the community thing. So this year you set up Babs community on Instagram. You've got so many young Asian guys that look up to you and follow you and know so much about your life. What made you set up the community sort of foundation that you've been developing, and the dinners, and even recording the podcast? What's the ethos behind it? Why are you doing it and spending a lot of your time doing it?
So obviously we're a private community, so it's not accessible to everyone, but I think the reason why I'm doing it is, of course, I'd like to mentor people and help people not make the same costly mistakes that I've made over the years, and that would be great, don't get me wrong. But I think what the community is about various things. Yeah, it's about Amazon and showing Amazon and stuff like that, but it's also about mindset, helping people through mindset. It's also about business and coaching, and it's also about networking. Like from that dinner that I did a couple of months ago, there was 10 people, just random people. I paid for the dinner. I did everything. And everyone connected with everyone. There was, I mean, you came to the dinner. There was a vast amount of people there. There was one guy that owns car parks. There was the guy that owned the sweet company. There was a guy that owned a flooring company. There was guys that did sell on Amazon. There was a lady that does like baby products, like handprint products and stuff. There was such a vast range of people, and that is what I'm trying to build, is a community where people can learn from like-minded individuals and connect with like-minded individuals to scale. Because I think the most important thing in any business or any career that you do is networking.
Yeah, very true. Very, very true. And so you mentioned all the different people that came to the dinner that we did and all the different things that you've done. And tell me about some of the setbacks that you've had. So what would you say have been your most difficult times in terms of your business? When was there ever a time when you thought, okay, I think this isn't going to work anymore. I think I need to call it a day. Did you ever have those setbacks?
Always. Like I can remember quite a few. 2015 lost everything. And then in 2019, going on to 2019, we were predominantly wholesale in terms of business. We weren't really selling online or anything like that. Then, and the biggest customer of ours was basically on the verge of going pop. And we put all of our eggs into this, like, business. That probably 90% of our business was that. And it was on the verge of going pop. It didn't go pop. But had we done that, and I had a firm conversation with my staff and everyone like that, it's like, if this could happen, I'm going to have to lay off people, and I don't know where the business is going. Then COVID happened, and it just turned around, and that business didn't go pop. And then we adapted, and we set up other things, and we looked at other avenues, and yeah, it did well. But there's, in terms of business, there's been quite a lot. But at the same time, there's always business struggles. Like, for example, the business that I'm in, there's always cash flow struggles. It doesn't matter how much money you have. We're buying stock 6 to 9 months in advance before the stock even comes into the country. So if I want to buy stock that I'm going to sell in Christmas, I've already bought that in March. So I paid, like, say for example, you're looking at £1 million. I paid 200 to 300,000 pounds in March, April, with factories in China, deposits. And then the stock comes, say, August, September. So I've got to pay the balance, say £700,000 is the balance. That's £1 million. Factories don't really give you credit lines. There's no such thing as that. But your stock for Christmas isn't really going to sell to November, December.
So it sits.
And then you probably get paid, say, from Amazon and the customers in January.
Yeah.
So you've got almost 9 months of cash layout with no return.
So that's a lot of pressure and a lot of stress
on the hope that the product might sell as well.
Yeah. And so I think the one thing that I'd say is that when you have a business like that and there's cash flow issues, there's people that rely upon you for their bread and butter. So your employees, you're paying their mortgages, you're putting food on the table. There's a lot of pressure for you to perform. And it's a difficult industry that you're in. It's very cyclical as well, isn't it? With like Christmas and everything. Now, do you ever get the down days? What's your mental health like with everything that you do? Because to us, or to the outside world who see your Instagram, see your social media, or who meet you out and about, you're always a very happy, kind of cheeky chappy, always smiling, always buying drinks for everyone, making sure everybody's completely drunk on tequila, etc. Or Jaeger bombs is Babs's sort of famous standard drink. Many a night I don't remember because of Jaeger bombs. What do you do for maintenance of your mental health? How do you maintain that side of yourself? Or do you even pay attention to it, or do you just crack on?
I used to crack on. So the way I used to deal with things is just keep myself mad busy. In the sense that, let's just say, for an example, I think one of the darkest moments in my life was when my mum passed. When she passed quite young and in a traumatic way. I remember the day of her funeral, I was working. I remember all the family and friends and guests were downstairs at our house, and I opened up the laptop and started working before my mum's coffin came into the house. And that's the way I dealt with it. I used to be, and then on the flip side, I remember 2015, I suffered from panic attacks in a really, really bad way. It was the day before I was flying to China, and I suffered from a panic attack. And it was the first time I ever had a panic attack. And I didn't know what was going on, obviously. So people in my office would call the ambulance, didn't know what was going on, etc. And then I've learned to deal with the panic attacks in terms of, and I haven't had, I think the last time I had one was last year, if I'm honest with you. But I've learned to deal with the panic attacks in a lot better way. I think a lot of that comes from stressing over things that I can't control. So I'm so used to being in control of, and I'm over stressing on things that I can't control.
Cool.
So dealing with it now, I think in 2020 I went through a really dark phase where I talked about suicide, and I've never talked this about anyone. I've talked about suicide. I lost my mom in 2018. I didn't mourn her death properly. And in 2020, when my business was doing the best I've ever done in 15 years, I was on top of the world, I thought about suicide.
Why?
Because I finally was mourning my mom, and I didn't mourn her. And there was a lot of other things going on in my personal life. I had a business that was split up with a partner, and family situation wasn't great. Everything came in on me at once. Although my business was doing amazing, everything around me was coming crashing down.
And how did you pull yourself out of that? Right.
So that would be my now wife, but I remember sitting in a car. We were living in a 2-bedroom flat at the time. I moved in with her into a 2-bedroom flat, and I was going crazy. I was like getting angry very quickly. I just wasn't myself, and she was like, "This isn't normal. This isn't you." And I was like, "I know," but I just don't. And then she helped me seek help, so I went counselling. It wasn't necessarily counselling. It was more like life coaching, should I say. Understanding things from different point of views. That's what helped me get through it. And then I got through it. And then obviously it was a difficult situation as well, because I thought about like suicide and all that stuff. But at the same time, the whole world was crashing down.
Mm-hmm.
COVID. I couldn't see friends. I couldn't go out. I couldn't go to the gym. I couldn't do anything. So I'm having all these thoughts while being locked up at home.
You had the life coach or the counselling. What else helped you? I know gym is a very big part of your mental health in your life.
Yeah.
'Cause you had a gym in your house, in the other house.
Yeah. So when I bought that house, which was 2020, and I was 30, and that was the first house I'd ever bought.
I missed that house. That house, for those of you who haven't been to one of Babs's epic house parties, was the best house party house. We used to get the best music, the best food, drink, parties. Neighbours never complained because Babs would get the neighbours in and get them drunk as well. And some good times at that house. I missed that house. Also, that house was only about half an hour away from me.
Yeah.
So it was really easy to get there.
So when I was 30, I bought my first house, and going back to, I never thought I would even buy a house.
Mm-hmm.
I bought my first house when I was 30 with my wife, and we built, when we did the house up, we built it in a way that we love to entertain. Friends coming over, family coming over, barbecues, house parties, whatever. So we built the house to entertain, and then I built a gym at the back because for me, gym, I've been going to gym since I was 16. But when I started going gym, it wasn't nothing to do with fitness or health or anything like that. It's actually anger management.
Mm.
I used to be a very, very angry kid. I think that's because of a tough upbringing. And I was quite naughty at school as well, so I would get into a lot of trouble. So for me, gym was a way of relieving my anger. And then I went into boxing when I was 16. So when I was 16, I went into boxing to punch something.
To get the anger,
to get the anger
aggression out.
Yeah. So for me now, gym is like, it's to everyone. You can say it. Everyone wants to look. We're in a society where we want to look good. We want to wear a t-shirt. We want to take our top off. We want to look. I'm not obsessed with having a six-pack or having this crazy body. I'm not bothered. I still have ice cream every day. I still have dessert every day. I eat what I want. I'm not. I try and eat clean.
Yeah.
But I'm not like, I'm not going to eat a McDonald's because it's got this, and this. I still like to enjoy myself. But for me, gym, running, or whatever, it's just about that 1 hour of headphones in, music on, the music that I want to listen to, and just me time.
And I think that's so important, and I think we touched on it before, that working out and gym is a good outlet for stress, and if your mind is confuddled, so to speak, it can help clear things out for you. But it would be wrong of me to interview you and not talk about the cars, right? Because Babs, you're very well known for your, and I'd say, fleet of cars that you have.
Yeah.
So when I first met you, you had that Audi R8. Actually, no, you had a Lambo for that first.
No, that was rented.
That was rented. Okay.
Yeah.
Rental.
So yeah, that was the first time I ever drove a Lambo. I rented it. Yeah.
So you had the Audi R8.
Yeah.
What made you get an Audi?
I never thought of owning a sports car, supercar, whatever you want to call it. But like in 2014, when I bought my R8, I wasn't thinking Lambo, Ferrari, or even Porsche. I was like, no way, that's out of my reach.
Yeah.
It didn't even cross my mind to get one. It wasn't that, I'm not going to sit here and say, I manifested getting a Lambo. Hell no. I didn't even manifest getting a house because I thought that would never happen. But now the R8, I bought it, it was 6 years old. I think it was like £52,000 at the time. And it was within my reach. And it was a lovely car. It was automatic. It was just, and in 2014, like that era, the Audi R8 was like a great car. And I never knew anyone that had Lambos, Ferraris, R8s, even any sports car, 911s. I didn't know anyone that had any of those cars.
And how did the first Lambo come about?
First Lambo was, like going back, I said I had a really, 2020 was the next level of my business and my career. And then 2020, my first priority was to buy a house, which I did. After I bought the house, I did the work to the house. I was like, okay, cool. I can afford to buy a car. And then 2021, we were still kind of in lockdown, and a car come up on Auto Trader. And this is me being completely open and honest, and I was quite naive. I didn't know the way cars worked. In 2018, I'd bought another, 2019, I'd bought another R8, a newer version, 2016 version. And then I sold that.
Was that the one on the
black one, the toy?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the tour, the where I wrapped blue.
That's the one, yeah, okay, fine.
That was a great car. And we did the tour with it, and then I sold it. And then, 2019, I had sold that as well because I said we were on the brink of losing our biggest customer, and I needed the cash. So I sold that. I didn't know where the business was going. And in 2020, the business turned around again. And in 2021, I was like, I can afford one. Something came up on Auto Trader, and I didn't know, I wasn't connected or anything like that. So I just rang up Lamborghini, Hatfield, and back then it was a little container. I was like, okay, cool. I can afford one. Something came up on Auto Trader, and I didn't know, I wasn't connected or anything like that. So I just rang up Lamborghini, Hatfield, and back then it was a little container. I was like, okay, cool. rang them up, was like, I've seen this car online, I'm interested. This is like peak lockdown. Cars weren't going for overs or anything like that then. The cars were going for under.
Under, yeah.
So, yeah, rang up saying, you've got this car for sale. I'm interested in it. They're like, yeah, you can't come and view it, but if you put a 10 grand deposit down, it's yours.
Yep.
And then I rang up Bav and I said, what do you think about this and stuff like that? And he was like, it was that on an Aventador SV Roadster. So I still remember there was one up for sale for 220 grand, an Aventador SV Roadster in yellow. I rang Bav. I said, oh, look, there's an SV Roadster for 220, or there's a Huracan Performante for 195 or something like that it was. And he was like, Babs, the SV Roadster is a terrible drive. He was like, you can't, if it's going to be your first Lambo,
you need it.
It's terrible to drive. It's single clutch. It's terrible. The Huracan Perf is an amazing, you can drive that car every day if you need to. It's an amazing car. It's an all-round car. For a first Lambo, it's the one. Anyway, went up, bought the car. The guy I bought it from Lambo, but that guy had sold it and took a 90 grand hit in 1 year.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is when cars were like going way below.
Dropping.
So yeah, I had that car for 2 years. That was my introduction to Lambo.
It's funny how we all phone Bav sometimes for advice.
Yeah.
The godfather. And then obviously you had, I lose track. There was Lambo, Ferrari, Lambo. So talk us through the whole Lamborghini ownership. Why Lamborghini? You developed a very good relationship with Lamborghini themselves. I've been to a lot of your new Lamborghini handovers.
With door players and Bangla,
chapati flour in the boot, and all that sort of stuff. So, why Lamborghini?
Because I had a Lamborghini Countach picture on my wall from when I was a kid. My room at home was a box room, 3x2 box room, and I still remember I had this picture of a Countach on the wall. And I also had Ferrari models in my room, so it wasn't like I was Lambo, or wasn't Ferrari. It wasn't like that. But I think I swayed towards Lambo because of the drama. And Ferrari's my best friend, or you guys, Mark, had a 458, sat in it, whatever, etc. It just didn't excite me. It was a V8, it was lovely, it was amazing, but the Lambo was a V10, it was loud, it popped, it had the big wing, it was just drama.
It was more Larry.
Yeah, and I'm quite a Larry person. I like to be loud and out there. That's the Asian in me. And then I fell in love with the car, and then I transitioned into Ferrari because I bought a 488 for my wife, and hated it. Hated the car. There was no to it. There was just nothing. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful car, and I was very lucky and privileged to have one. But it was just so easy to drive.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And then, so out of all the Lamborghinis that you've had, from the Huracans to the Aventadors to the Revelto to the Uruses, which has been your, if I said to you, Babs, that you can only have one car, which car would it be?
Lambo. Urus Perf.
Okay. How come?
So the older Urus that I had was amazing, but it was comfortable. The Urus Perf is Larry, but also comfortable, daily driving, put things in the back, put people in the back seat. It's got the best of both worlds.
And was there anything you don't like about the Lamborghinis?
The amount of petrol drink? I don't know. I would say some of the tech. Like my Aventador, the tech was like, although I bought that car in 2021, I think, 22, 22, the tech was 10 years old from the original Aventador. Like, CarPlay wouldn't work properly, like hands-free, like all of that stuff was a bit
old school.
Yeah.
And do you think now that you had all the Lambos and obviously you have a Rolls Royce as well, you have the Cullinan, do you think you'd ever go into the hypercar sort of? Are we talking Bugatti and Koenigsegg's, and would you ever go to that level? So £1 million plus car?
I'm not on that level. I don't think I ever will be on that level, but probably not. If I want to open honest with you, probably not. The cars for me now isn't like.
Why do you have so many? What is it about the cars that you want them? What kind of happiness do they bring you? What kind of relationship do you have with the cars?
In terms of I wouldn't necessarily say it brings happiness. It's more of a passion in the sense that, like, I mean, if someone says a car brings you happiness, is it real happiness or is it short-term happiness?
Yeah.
Which it is, in all honesty speaking. Like, you drive a car, you get short-term happiness, and then you still have the same problems as everyone else. You still have the same issues as everyone else. But what it brings for me is I think the concept of me achieving something that I probably didn't believe I could achieve. And people always say, oh, you should aim for the stars and you should aim for the best, or what, you should aim high. In all honesty, I didn't grow up like that. I didn't grow up aiming to be where I am now. There wasn't an aim for me. And I think if my mum was here, she would love it. Her dad was in the car industry in India, so did car parts. He used to remake engines and all sorts.
Oh wow!
They were in the car parts business, but he was like, I think they're one of the first people in Mumbai or something like that to remake a whole engine by hand. And my uncle, my mum's brother, is still in the car business, like car parts, oils and stuff like that. So that kind of lived through my mum.
Yeah.
And I think if my mum was here, she would be just as excited over cars as I am now. So it's kind of like, I know I live this life. I'm living this life through my mum, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And do you think your mum would be a Lambo lady or a Ferrari lady or a Rolls Royce lady or a Porsche lady? What do you think?
If she was still here, I think she would be a Rolls Royce lady, just because I'd like her to be a Rolls Royce lady. Like, my mum was she worked in market stalls, very, very simple lady, like very simple. Don't get me wrong, she liked nice things in the sense that she liked jewelry, like with necklaces, bracelets or whatever, watches, because we used to have watch market stalls, watches. She got watches, like she used to sell watches, like I'm talking £5-10 watches, like Casio watches, unbranded fashionable watches in markets, like you're talking about Rolex and stuff. And she's the one who introduced me to Rolex when I was 24. She, a Daytona, she had a good relationship with Watches Switzerland, took me there, said buy it. I think it was like $6,500 at the time. Stainless steel Daytona, white face. And I didn't understand it, but I remember being at the shop and the guy was like, I'll buy that watch off you for like £500 more. Because the stainless steel Daytona was quite a sought after watch.
Exactly, yeah.
But back then, you used to get GMTs at below list.
Yeah.
And they used to give you 10-15% off.
Yeah.
So she got me into the watch world. So I think if she was still here, I think I would push her towards Rolls Royce and the class. There's a different level of class.
Definitely, yeah, I agree. So Babs, let's talk friendship. Do you remember when we first met? What did you think when you first met me? You think this plonker?
It was I still remember when we first met. 2014. Bavin. 16. No. Sorry. To tell her, like, 2015 or 16? I can't remember now.
I don't remember.
It's a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
Bav was going on the gumball with you, and he invited me and my friend Mark to it. He's like, not for the whole leg, but we started off in
Ireland or something, was it?
Ireland, and then we joined you guys all the way to London, and I saw you there. I didn't know who you were before, to be honest with you. Still don't know who you are to a certain extent now. But yeah, no, like we met, and I think we did, although we talked and we had fun together and stuff like that, our friendship didn't really blossom from there.
Yeah. I think it was from the Animized tour, I think, where we all became like really, really good mates.
Yeah, well, we spent like proper time together, us four, me, you, Mark and Bav, like nights out, hotels, dinners. We properly spent time together. And then I introduced you to Phoenicia, my wife, and then
She's been a truly defining moment in my life. She paid me to say that. Go on.
And then our friendship kind of blossomed from I'd say 2019.
Because we're quite different, I think, from
you're Hindu, I'm Sikh,
our upbringing, the way we are. You know, we are quite different in that respect. But I think one thing I've noticed with you is you're very, very loyal to your friends. You know, you're still very close friends with some of the kids that you grew up with.
Yeah.
Right. And has friendship become more important to you as you've got older?
Yeah, 110%. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I moved to this house I'm in now. I was in Essex before. I never grew up in Essex. My wife did. And although you were probably half an hour from us there, the rest of my family and my friends, a lot of them that I grew up with, are still in the same area that I grew up in. My dad still lives in the same house. My brother's just around the corner. My cousins and stuff. So, and when I lived in that house, it was amazing, but I wasn't spending enough quality time with my friends. Well, I felt I wasn't anyway. So one of the reasons why we moved back here, well, we're not right near them, but is to be closer to family and friends. And now I see them. Well, I see my brother, my niece and stuff once a week. My dad a lot more often. A lot of my friends that I grew up with, school, etc. I see them on a much regular basis now, and that was one of the reasons why I moved back. I was missing those relationships.
Mm-hmm. And I think for me especially, after that tour, we all became very, very close. And I remember during lockdown, we did some Instagram lives of me, you, Bav, and Mark.
Yeah.
And even now, I get messages saying, when are you guys going to do like another Insta live or whatever? And every couple of months, we always try and go out for dinner where we can. And see, we're all very from different backgrounds. And it was just always interesting how we all managed to bond. What do you think brought us all together? Is it love of cars?
I'd say love of cars as a play to that, but I'll say more so we're just all on the same level. Like, for example, I don't know, like it sounds so silly, but the fact that when we go out, it's like, I don't know, say we have a crazy night out or something. We're on holiday, we have a crazy night out, clubbing, whatever. Like, I might pick up the bill, and then it would just be like, at the end of the holiday, we're like, guys, this is the split. But it's just knowing that, like, not on the same level, but it's like we understand each other. Like, if someone's like, how can I? This might need to edit this bit out. But if someone's doing something, it's like we don't really necessarily care. Like, if we're on holiday together and you want to go do something, you crack on. If I want to do something, you crack on. There's no ego. There's no no one's better than the other. There's no. We're all just there to have a good time.
Yeah, and I call that the spreadsheet of death. So when Babs or Bav or whoever, they'll
send the spreadsheet.
They'll pay the bill, and then like a month or so later, you'll get this spreadsheet saying where we went, what we spent, and then you'll be all right. Because we normally take it in turns to pick up the tab. And then all has to marry up, and then there'll be spreadsheet dads will be like, look, Nilesh, you pay Babs this, Mark, you pay Bav this, and all the money goes round, and then everybody's clear.
So I don't want to see you again for another year.
And then it's like, leave me alone for another year. Can't afford to go out anymore. I'm on chips and beans. I I think also one of the things is when we did your stag in Vegas, it was, and Vegas is a very fun place. You know, there's lots of parties, there's lots happening, but you almost felt for me that I knew that I was with my boys. So you're not worried about anything. You know that we'll all go home. Everybody will be looked after. You know, everybody's got an eye on each other. You know, it's not like one guy goes off and disappears. You know, we always have our eye open for each other. And even our WhatsApp group, I still think of it as if I need to do something, if I've got a problem or there's an issue, I can put it on my WhatsApp group with you guys and I'll get help. Like if I need help from my boys, then that help is there. There's no ego involved. It's like, okay, one of us needs help and then we're just there. And I think that's something that's important. And as you get older, you realize that those kind of friendships don't come along very often. I think for people who are listening, I think developing those friendships is quite key, which I think you're quite good at doing.
But I think as you get older as well, you tend not to let people in as well.
That's very true.
So I think as I'm getting older, I'm getting a lot more reserved in who I interact with. And it's not for any like reason. I think it's just like I want to preserve my energy, but also it's how much energy do I have to invest into new relationships?
Yeah.
I want the relationships that I have to flourish.
And it's trust as well, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I definitely think as I get older, not that I trust less, it's who do you let into your life. Yeah.
And if you could go back in time and see little Babs Jr., right? And he was, you know, working hard in the stall, getting into trouble, causing mischief, not applying himself at school, etc. What advice would you give him if you could give him a message?
It's got nothing to do with myself or anything like that, but it's probably advice. One thing I'd probably regret in my life is not spending enough time when my mum was ill. I would be so busy with trying to work, hustle, make money, and trying to take away that pain by doing that, where I didn't spend enough time with her when she was ill, and I regret that moment. So if I would tell myself when I was younger, or not even younger, it was like, my younger self, I would say, moments aren't forever, and make sure I live in the moment and cherish the moment.
Okay, that's very great. And what do you think are the qualities that you have which have enabled your success?
Hustle mentality. Like everything's a hustle. In the sense that, like, even when things are going bad, you hustle, you get it, like go get her. And it's just like, I try and see opportunities in anything. Like, for example, I'm not ashamed or I'm not embarrassed. Like, if I see an opportunity, I don't know, say I really wanted to buy this house, I would go knock on the door and be like, do you want to sell this house? Like, I've just been brought up from the market stores and stuff like that. That is what has enabled me, the hustler mentality.
And any traits that you don't like or anything you'd like to change?
Yeah, there's loads. 90% of myself. But I'll say like one trait I would say is probably, I think I react a lot in emotion. Like whether it be my business or my personal life, I'd make sometimes bad decisions, sometimes good decisions, but I make a lot of emotional decisions, and I need to take sometimes a step back and assess the situation, then make a decision. But at the moment, I'm 0 to 100.
Yeah, I think there's a famous quote that says, "Take emotion out of the equation, and you'll do well." Just you have to. If you're quite red-blooded, then if you take the emotion out, then that might give you more clarity in terms of your decision making.
But the thing is, like, from the way I grew up and the way I am now, like, it's like no one's helped or guided me. So I don't have any guidance. I don't have any help. There's no book on how to do things. Like, my parents had market stalls, so it's like they never ran businesses like I'm running now with staff and stuff like that. So I didn't see people having businesses. Like, I didn't see people managing staff. Like, I never learned how to manage staff. I probably don't do it to the best of my ability now, but I never saw it. So it's just like I struggle sometimes in doing things because I just don't know how to.
Do you sit back and, reflect and think, okay, I've done all right. I'm happy. Maybe it's time I sold up and retired.
Nah, I'm too young for that.
Called it a day. What's your plan in that respect? Are you going to leave the country? You going to move?
Leave the country, probably not right now.
If you did, where would you go?
I toyed with the idea of Dubai, but somewhere hot. I'll be honest with you, like, it's not about leaving the country for any reason. I just want to be, like, the sun makes you so much more happier. Like, it brings out certain hormones in your body where you're happy. Like, the sun is shining today, it's 29 degrees, it's crazy. But it just brings happiness to everything and everyone. Everything that you do, like, you want to go to work, you're happy. Even though you're having shit day at work, you're happy because the sun's there. Like, you can go out afterwards. Like, I just want to go somewhere where it's a bit nicer. But again, this is home, and if I'm having children and stuff, I wouldn't choose any other country to bring up a child in there. It's the honest question. But yeah.
Amazing. Well, Babs, thank you very much.
Cool.
Learned a lot about you, dude.
Thank you, man.
Learned a hell of a lot.
Thank you, bro.
Cheers, man. Pleasure.